plans and have life cycles. Staff do the workup for us. They go out, they see whether those roads are needing upgrading. If they don't, we can put them off. If they are needed to be upgraded, they do. Leslie Road would have been on that plan. And so that's why that would have happened. They bring that back to us and we make those decisions when we do the budgets for the rates and where they're allocated. As far as the rates, we talked about harmonisation as well across the district, and that allocates it evenly so that Tokoroa does actually, and we subsidise each other. Tokoroa, as a bigger community, does subsidise the rest of the community in some areas. But the other way that we have try and settle the rates is that we have the uniform annual charge, and that's a one-off charge that every ratepayer pays, and we are allowed to take that to a maximum of 30% so that we can just smooth out the height ups and downs, and we use that to the maximum. All right?
What I really wanted to know is, are there measures in place to avoid that the money is allocated wrongly?
We listen to staff, and staff do the workup. Staff are the experts in their roles, and they work in their roles all the time. They are all qualified people, so we're lay people with the best intentions. So we take notice from them, and if they tell us that, then we do take notice of them.
Just the point, there's been some, when the dogs issue came up, there was painting signs all on the footpath, and now they're not there. And who's that decision? That was yours, or was it these experts? Thank you.
We reviewed the dog policy in October last year, and at that time we were talking about, and that was the dog bylaw. We said at that stage, and there was quite a lot of discussion on it, with the best intention, we had one dog bylaw for the whole district. We told staff at the time that was what we were going to do. That was going to be the signage. We didn't think that we wanted big signs on the power pole, so we put them on the footpaths. When that happened and we saw what they looked like and how big they were, and when the Tirau community told us and how upset they were, we did take them off. We listened to you, and yes, with the best intentions that was there, we do have a bylaw, and it did go out for consultation, so people were consulted about it, and it did go through. We didn't get the feedback from anybody to say that wasn't what they wanted, and so we went ahead with it. We've since heard, no, it wasn't what you wanted, so we've taken those off. And actually at the last meeting, last Thursday, I put a notice of motion to council to actually review the dog bylaw we're going back to review it, and we're going to have a different bylaw, or look at a different bylaw for each of our towns. Because what's appropriate in Tokoroa isn't appropriate for Arapuni or Putaruru or Tirau. It's not. Dogs with leashes in Tirau and Putaruru and Arapuni, fine, but that couldn't happen in Tokoroa. So we're going to look at individual bylaws for individual towns, so that actually, as I said before, each town is unique. Thanks.
Please, it's not that about the bylaw. It's about the decision of putting it there and who pays for it to take it off.
The decision of where it went, it was a council, elected members' decision that we do that. We make that decision at that level, and staff carry out our wishes. So I was as surprised as you when I saw where they were and how many of them, and yeah, all we did was water blast them to get rid of them. Yes, council would have had to have paid for that.
You didn't do a very good job. I was walking down the road the other day,
Can you still see them?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to get rid of the ones on the middle, don't worry about it. Okay, but on the bottom, I think the council should look at that.
Perhaps we need to go back.
That's fine. I'll take care of the ones on the bottom.
Thank you. Okay.
So, we got some signs that we didn't want. You put a notice of motion in, Jenny, that there weren't going to be signs, and then within a couple of days we've got new signs up on our poles forbidding residents to walk their dogs through town. So, you put a notice of motion in. What happened to the communication on the council? Why did those signs go up after the last ones were just water blasted off the road? Off the footpaths?
Your guess is as good as mine, to be
To
honest.
be fair, that's not a good enough response.
No, and I accept that. I've only put a notice of motion. The current bylaw still stands. So when we discussed it, and your Tirau elected member was around the table, and it was a unanimous vote that we take those signs off the footpath and we put signs on the power poles or the poles wherever they were at each end of the community. We did talk about that, and that went through, and your elected representative agreed with that.
Because you were at the community board meeting where we brought that up, and you actually suggested that we should have individual bylaws for individual areas.
And that's what
that
we're
was
proposing
fantastic.
going forward.
And the CEO was there, and we talked about it. So while the process was going through where you put a notice of motion, surely the council employees should have been said, well, hang on, just tie-ho before you put another sign up.
Yes.
And I think that's what the question was before, how do we prudently spend our taxpayers' money, how do we know it's being allocated in the right place? So hopefully with the new term and with the new councillors, we will have a bit more sensible decision.
And I accept that, and I also accept that those signs we will use in Tokoroa, but I accept it as far as the labels putting them up.
Could we have a resolve tonight that those signs gets removed? Because as you've indicated, and we had at the community board meeting, it makes our residents who do have dogs on leashes, who are going from one side of town to the other, makes them feel like criminals.
I can't promise anything. As I said, I'm only one vote around the table, but I will most certainly take it back first thing in the morning, and talk, or actually I'll see Craig afterwards and see what we can do about that.
Thank you very much.
I actually think there's possibly a question for Craig, our CEO, rather than the candidate.
It's a Mayoral.
I think we've got a little bit off track here. I think we should be asking our Mayoral candidates what they can do and not part one. I know the dog thing is an issue. And I really want to see it resolved, but I don't see it as one person's issue.
I think the main problem with the dog issue was that even though things come out to consultation for the public, we don't really connect with that or engage with that system. The submission process and reading screeds of documents about what council's up to is a little bit out of touch for most of us, and I know that we're not going to buy into that. So what we're going to have, if something isn't changed soon, is that bylaws like that one, which clearly everybody isn't that wrapped with, are going to go through purely because the public hasn't had a good look at it. And what Jenny's indicating now is that TOF is now going to have potentially the same bylaw that it's already got. But while I've been standing on the street in TOF for the last 3 weeks, I had this wonderful disabled woman come through on her mobility scooter with her dog tucked under her arm, and she says, oh, I wouldn't leave the house without him. My partner died 3 months ago, and I can't leave home without him. So she puts that law in, and now we have all our elderly suffering for what I believe in Tokoroa is a couple of dangerous dogs which are already covered by a dangerous dog law, where actually what they need is some control around them. So I think it needs proper public consultation in a forum that you can actually handle. So that's why I want to put in those extra meetings where it's accessible and things on the internet, whatever the youth want. We need the ways for council to now connect with you at a better level where you can understand it and where you can communicate back with it. So that way you'll actually feed into a law, and they might not make those decisions, those poor decisions in the first place, and then you might save them money because they won't put signs up that drop 20% of income off your retailers.
Can I just change the subject slightly? Can we discuss what
each Mayoral candidate thinks about our future planning for the growth of the towns. Sewerage, water, what are they going to put aside for that? How are they going to fund that? Because if New Zealand keeps growing the way it's doing, Tokoroa, Tirau, Putaruru and Arapuni are going to end up like Auckland. There's going to be no land, nowhere for people to build, no sewerage, no infrastructure for that. And even though I am a dog owner and that did affect me, I think that's a wee bit more important than the dog thing at the minute. So have you guys got any sort of visions for how that's going to happen?
Yes, if you can't sleep at night, get out the district plan, have a read of it, and you will find it very interesting. I want to rejuvenate, I'll be at point. I think there's enough properties that I've visited in Tokoroa which are derelict at the moment, which if we can work with the owners, we can create new subdivisions on a property already, which means that there is an existing suppliers who meet that demand. I think first of all we've got to catch and rejuvenate what we already have. Now, I did come out here searching for those magical properties at a very good price, couldn't find any. And I think that's the point you're making, that when we bring in new people, which we want, new business, we want new people, we want to grow this population, there's going to be some demands on our services. I really believe that first of all we should rejuvenate what we have. And I think in places like Tokoroa, there's areas there. In here was a bit more difficult. I couldn't find property to buy. So for me, my vision is to rejuvenate what we have. We don't need to go out and, I believe, to create any more wonderful new divisions, although I did hear some opportunities to create with aged care and those types of things. But for me, at the moment, in this first cycle, I think this I'll rejuvenate. But with the intention that I think, well noted, I think that's going to put a big demand as well as people.
Jared, I want to ask you a question. Tirau offloaded its Pokie machines. We just had a club in Putaruru offload its Pokie machines. We have a sinking lid policy in the South Waikato, and the council went and accepted all those Pokie machines into Tokoroa, and it's really hurting our community. We lose 10 million a year. It's 100 million over the last decade. That's not spent. That's 200 million potential different. I want to hear your feelings about these Pokie machines that are getting dumped from Tirau and Putaruru into Tokoroa.
Yeah, I think you've touched an emotional chord, to be honest. I thought I couldn't survive playing cricket without Rothmans on the sponsorship, or something like alcohol, somewhere to sponsor us, and now I suppose the point you're making there, that we need gambling to uplift us. I think it's a very, I wouldn't say touchy. For me personally, on my values, I think it's tough when we have to rely on something that puts someone in, where someone else loses something, or they're gambling that could affect them. So while I understand your question is the income, a loss of revenue, I believe that's a very important point. My heart is not in terms of my values, do not sort of say that, listen, we need something with gambling that's going to increase us. But I wish I knew an answer to that question, how we can remove review. But point noted, when we lose revenue like that at emotional times, I think that's a real drastic hit. But I just want to take time to share my values.
Can I just talk very quickly about the Pokie machines? The council has a sinking lid policy that if a business is closed and is closed for 6 months, all the Pokie machines that were there are lost. So the ones in Tirau didn't go to Putaruru or Tokoroa, they were lost. So we have a sinking lid policy, and that was an example of it working.
I'd just like to speak to the economic development question regarding the growth for the towns. I've come from a business background, from the building industry, 20 years in Auckland, and economic development at council. And you can haphazardly grow things and attract things and allow things to just go organically, but that's not, in my opinion, it's not the best way. I think strategic growth is good. So my intention would, because of my connection with business in the district already, I'd be coming out to businesses and speaking to them personally, but also inviting them to groups Because inside their heads already is the next 5, 10, 15 year plans for their businesses, so they know whether they're growing or not.